Yo, 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 we are here with episode 4 of the Evolution Podcast. And with me, I got one of my brothers, one of my guys. I'll let him go ahead and introduce himself.
What's going on? My name's Xavier. Sometimes I go from Buddha or go by Buddha.
Go from Buddha.
Yeah.
This guy, man, he's been in my life for a while. He has a crazy amount of knowledge and interesting takes on life and just things in general. Um, and I like I don't know. We're gonna get deep today. So I've never got really deep.
Try.
Yeah, I never really got deep with you before. Like in that sense, you're in like your personal life sense.
Yeah, definitely like familial. Normally, like we talk about like training, money,
Yeah.
like that.
And we're gonna have episodes with you on there talking about like fitness, your fitness journey. You're like one of the most financially knowledgeable people I know. So that's another thing that we're gonna talk about another episode. But this episode, we're gonna jump straight into it. We're gonna talk about your father, or the lack thereof, I guess you could say. And let's just kick it off. Do you remember your first thought of your father not being in your life?
It's hard to say like that exact moment where you don't remember, but it was like a couple things that I noticed growing up. So one of them was like even just my last name. So my last name is from my maternal side, from my mom's side, the Hallis name. My father's actual last name is Thomas. So even growing up, I started noticing, why is my uncle, mom, sister, all these people, we all have the same last name. And and then once I went down south, because that's where my father's originally from, was like Arkansas, Mississippi area, I noticed that all their last names were Thomas, all these different last names. I'm like, but is it my dad's, last name Hallis?
Right.
Yeah, no way.
Gotcha. Um, Growing up, what was your feelings towards your dad, knowing that he wasn't in your life?
Uh, a lot of sadness and a lot of like disappointment for sure. Like I definitely like absorb like a lot of like traditionally masculine activities or like traits. Like I love being coached, love training, all that type of stuff. And to not have somebody there to like actually grow and help you achieve those things, like really hurt me as a kid. I remember being disappointed a lot of times and not showing up to events or me looking for him in the crowd somewhere or even just training, you know.
Which is interesting because that's like I feel like that's one of your characteristics now. Like if you know Xavier, you know like he's like masculine, and the dude is masculine, and he's definitely like a leader, and he's a teacher. So it's interesting that you said that. Do you feel like it was normal not having a dad? Like did you ever feel like, oh, this isn't how it's supposed to be, or did you not even like think about it?
Um, I say, I mean, shout out to the Hallis family. They set some really good standards and discipline, and like really, I used to think a lot of my mindset just came from myself, but in reality, it came from that family, and they really did a good job with teaching me independence,
So,
responsibility.
your family, right?
Right, the Hallis, like my mom's side of my
Oh,
family,
okay, gotcha.
and they almost made it was hard for me to notice at times, but then at times I did notice, because your mom could only go so far with you as a man. It's just she's playing both roles at the same time.
Correct.
So you're finding there are going to be some things that aren't achieved just through that. And what was the question? My bad.
You're good.
I'm trying to like. Get better.
So I mean that was all good. Did you feel like it was normal not having a dad?
I would say, yeah, I got used to it. I'm gonna say, yeah, it felt pretty normal. But growing up, I started noticing the differences. So, and it's weird because you notice it because you're becoming self-actualized to where it doesn't matter. And then when it does matter, it's hard for you to actually see it in that present moment.
Right.
Because I mean, if you think about a baby needs both its parents, and a lot of the outcomes that happens to that child is a result of the parents.
Right.
But as we become older and older and older, parents become less, influential on
Right.
our own being.
Gotcha. How involved was your mother? I know you said the Hallis family was very involved and help like substitute that missing father figure. So how involved was your mother?
Oh, she went above and beyond. I'm talking about growing up. My mom always was studying with me. She was practicing math, reading, always making me read the like the summer reading people had in school.
Mm-hmm.
I was always doing that. She tried to put me into sports, but she didn't like it if my grades got a little too low. But yeah, she always went the extra mile. Always putting on responsibilities, talking to me about like certain topics, how to think, how not to be certain ways. I think my mom honestly just tried to prevent me from turning out like my dad. Like, honestly.
Shout out to the single moms who's playing the dad role too.
Single mothers always got my heart.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Did anyone step up to that father figure in your life?
Yeah, I'm definitely shout out to my uncle for that, which is my mom's younger brother. Yeah, he always would, as close, we basically got a father-son relationship. So he always took me out, taught me how to train. That's my first role model in that sense. Finances, pretty much my whole life. So.
In what ways do you think not having a father affected you as an adult?
There's tons of different things that a father really, there's also the growing up, the protective, and the providing. So basically, that's non-existent when you don't have your dad like actually in your life. I would say that you have to create your own connections, networking, learning all the things that, so like for example, like my kids would already know some people who know how to do some things, just that whole shebang. I have to go ahead and actually push myself into the world and establish myself. There's no one to be that first person, introduce myself or any of that.
Guide the way.
Right.
No, that's interesting. And what do you think? I mean, do you think that you have abandonment trauma?
Oh yeah, definitely for sure.
Like stemming from your father?
Yeah, I would say it stems from my father if there is a trauma there, and my mother really neutralized it as best as possible because I got to see two contrasting styles of parenting. I got to see hyper abandonment from my father because my father got out of my life when I was about 4, and then I didn't meet him again until I was about 25.
Right.
And then my mom obviously stayed down no matter what, worked multiple jobs, always provided homes for us, saved for us, put us in the best opportunities realistically that she could. So
You said 5. Did you do you remember your dad from back then?
yeah, a little bit. I would say 5. He completely was out of like my life, like not living with me. And then I seen him less than 5 times from probably age 5 to 10, and then I talked to him on the phone once in my teens.
Do you believe that traits are carried through genetics? Just in a general sense.
Yeah, I do. I mean, definitely, it's hard to say like what allocation is actually genetics and actually like being a product of your environment. I definitely do say that even with me not knowing my dad, I have to battle with certain ideas or ways that I think that he would even handle them. And it doesn't even matter because we all can learn from our parents even if they're doing wrong. And that, I still appreciate my dad. I have care, love, and respect for him, even though he basically was totally absent. And I mean, my body, I gotta be happy I was blessed with half my physical abilities from my dad.
Is he big? I never seen him actually.
I mean, he's pretty, he's kind of shorter, but he's still strong, like muscular looking dude.
That's where you get it from.
Yeah. So, and I've always been stronger than like everybody on my mom's side. I was like, yeah, Thomas side.
Yeah, we had Chapo on here a couple episodes ago, and we were talking about like how obviously his dad had a addictive personality. He died from OD of a drug, so obviously there's some addictive personalities right there, and that he believes like that his addictive personality towards like alcohol kind of stems from that. Do you have like any thoughts on that or?
Yeah, I mean, traits are passed down whether we want to recognize them or not. For me, with my father at least, I definitely see that because I mean, it just takes a different type of person to be able not to talk to your kids for 20 years. On top, because I also have a younger sister, that's also his daughter, And so you didn't go from seeing us for 20 something years. That just takes another level of somebody who has that separation, who can like really do that. And that's where I think I get a lot of, I took that trait, and what I try to do is try to apply it in a more positive way so I can like disattach from things. Like I can honestly do it.
Right.
And I have to fight to not do it.
Right.
With things that are important to me, like it's honestly hard for me like to visit my mom, hang out with friends. These things are hard for me because that's how he is. He's just a soul that he likes to just do whatever he wants, explore. And I have sympathy and understanding for him because he was orphaned at the age of 8. So it's like he honestly doesn't understand what it's like to have stability,
Right.
a foundation, things like that.
Yeah. And I feel like it's so important for us to sympathize with our parents sometimes, because although like our childhood came from them, we got to think of where their childhood came from.
Right.
They probably went through a lot of traumatic situations and stuff, and their generation, they definitely didn't have the like coping mechanisms. They didn't have therapy. They didn't have the podcast, the talk shows that help them kind of discover their traumas or anything. So they're like free balling it their whole life.
Right.
But yeah, no, I like that you said that you still empathize with him and stuff like that, because that's very
It wasn't always like that as a kid. I mean, I know you already kind of asked that question before, but like the feelings, but I used to just be mad as a kid. And I mean, I still have some level of anger within me, but it was like bad. And as I got older, then I started to gain that understanding and empathize with him more for a few reasons. And it's something that everybody can do. Anytime you can envision yourself in the future forgiving somebody or not blaming a circumstance or a reason for why you didn't achieve or did achieve, you got to bring that future to the present. So I can't sit here when me and you are 80, then like complain about my dad not being in my life, like when we're old.
right.
Like I'm gonna blame why I didn't do this, why I didn't do that, or if I did on that at 80. I mean, you're so far from that, bro. That was like 1999. You got a band, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have to, if I could see that, now I got to bring it as fast as possible here.
Right.
I have to have that forgiveness and that level of understanding
Right.
that I'm inevitably gonna have in the future.
Right. And Chapu actually said something similar to that when he was on here, saying like, if I'm able to recognize it, then it's not affecting me no more. Which I don't know if I agree with completely, because even though you recognize it, if you don't take care of it, then it's still affecting you, and it still stems from that, from your dad or whatever, the parent or whatever. But once you learn how to like handle it, then obviously it's not affecting you. But I mean, to a degree where if you get like to that age, like 50, 60, you're still trying to blame it on your dad. I hopefully understand.
I do not want, not me, bro, not me.
It's like,
Not
okay,
being that
like,
guy.
you've had plenty time to like get yourself together and try to fix the situation. Now you're just using it as a crutch,
Right.
as an excuse.
And it's always been a crutch or an excuse. It's just as we become older, our own autonomous conscious being, we cannot allow things that we were born with to define us. We have to, you can establish whatever you like. That's the honest truth. You have free will.
Yeah, that's facts. Do you think you have any carried traits from him, although he didn't raise you? I know you kind of say he does. Are there any specific ones that, besides the
Yeah.
isolation one, that sticks out to you?
He's seen me once I re-met him at 25,
Right.
and I'm all into training and everything and trying. I showed him videos and all that, and then he's obviously seeing me, and he was just like, yeah, when you were in the crib, I'd lift weights in front of you, like you think I have any level of influence on what I'm doing at 25?
Oh,
he was finding a way to get that credit.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I guess the physical. There's also been some like mental stuff. Like I would honestly say my mom is a lot more mentally tough than even my father, for sure.
Right.
And I'm definitely one of like the nicer, softer, a little bit more. I mean, some people think I'm not soft or all these things I'm saying, but compared to that maternal side, I definitely am.
Right. Gotcha. When I know you said you hadn't seen your dad since you were 5, before you met him again. When you met him at 25, how did that come about? did you seek him out? Did he seek you out? How did you guys connect?
Yeah, well, shout out to my older brother. He's the one that reconnected me with my father. First off, he found me, and then I was still in that stage where I was a little upset with my father overall. And then he eventually worked with me, talked with me to like kind of like disarm myself a little bit.
Real quick, how did your brother find you? Did you know he was your brother?
Yeah, I've always seen pictures of my older brother when we were young, like sub 5. He's a few years older than me.
Got you.
Yeah, and then he reached out via Facebook, and then he found my number online.
When he just was like, "Hey, Dad wants to see you" or something.
No, he was like, "Hey, I'm your brother. You're Willie Thomas's other son." You know.
Oh, like you hadn't, but that's so you hadn't seen him as like a grown adult.
Right,
So
and
it was
we
like a
haven't seen
shock.
each other.
Was it
right.
a shock to you?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's always been in the back of my mind that I had older brother even before meeting him in 2017.
Right.
And then mind you, it took 2017 of me knowing my brother to 2020 for me to talk to my dad. So 3 years my brother put in work to make me see my father.
So how did you meeting your father come about, or even talking to him?
I was running Puritas Hill one day for like an hour.
The infamous Puritas Hill.
Yeah, going through some things, run that hill, you feel a lot better. And you know, I was like, I got his number because Brandon, my brother, gave it to me, and then I just made that call. Like, hey, when you want to meet up, when you want to talk. I tried to make it as casual as possible. When you haven't talked to your son and a dad hasn't talked to his son in 20 years, there's some tension there for sure.
Facts.
So,
How did he take it?
He was pretty open to it. It was just hard for him. That's a lot to like unpack. You know, there's like the sorry, you know, the remorse, the things that you never can even make up. That's another reason why that caused me to be more empathetic towards him, is just because that's a lot to. It's just hard to do. I mean, you could have kept running if you wanted to.
Like, there's nothing he can do about it now. We can't go back in time and change anything. Where I kind of want to ask, like, when you guys first met, like, did you go to his house or did you guys meet at like go to dinner or something? I'm just kind of curious.
My dad's like a real street dude, so he was hanging out at a shop on the east side, just
like
with
a barber shop.
like a auto shop.
Oh, auto shop. Gotcha.
Like bunch of old heads, people playing chess, like literally on some movie scene type stuff.
Right.
And then I pull up, it was like 15 people. I just had to pick out who was my dad.
Did you pick right the first
Yeah,
time?
I knew what he looked like. Like he didn't change. I mean, obviously he's a lot older, but like I could still tell who my dad was right away.
Dang. That's interesting. How is your mom and dad's relationship now, if they even have
And they do not talk at
They
all.
don't talk?
And it's not going to change.
It's not gonna change.
And I understand.
Right. No.
When my mom says, you know, her opinions about anything or how she feels, I totally have to jump to that.
Right.
My mom's been in my life doing everything for me, gonna continue to do that.
Right.
So I just have the utmost respect for her opinion on that matter.
Right. And like, do you feel like there's like animosity still towards him, or you think she's like forgiving him and just like, okay, he's doing him, I'm living my life?
No. Yeah, there's total animal. Yeah, she definitely holds like part of like a resentment towards him. And it has even came out towards me, even growing up, and I know she didn't mean it, and it's just hard. It's just there's no way to get around it. Of course I'm gonna like remind you of him or things in that matter. It's just inevitable. So I don't blame her for it too much. I wish she was more understanding and more like on the forgiveness side for sure, but if it comes to her, it comes to her on her time. I'm not the one to be able to tell her when.
Right. We're all human. All right. With your mom stepping up to be your mom and dad, do you think that had an effect on the way you view women or your relationships with women now?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say for me, it's really hard. Like I was saying earlier, since I had such a contrast of what somebody's willing to do for you when they want to be in your life and, in my opinion, truly love you versus hopeful wishing or good intention. Not that I don't think my father actually thinks that I think that he believes he loves us for sure, but you gotta actually implement it and bring it out into the real world. My mom says it and also does it on a real world sense. So for me, I've gotten to see two different sides of how someone operates when they're quote unquote in love or have love. And for me, in terms with women, it's just easy for me to not believe them if I see the actions don't line up. So if you just all wishy washy telling me a bunch of stuff I want to hear, not gonna work on me. So I got to see the action. I got to see some self sacrifice.
Yeah, because I mean, is it really love if you can go 20 years without seeing someone?
Right. Or not I mean, you can go periods without seeing somebody and definitely still have that love through time and space. But then it just comes to a point like, where's the sacrifice? Where's anything even remotely like that? There's
No effort.
yeah. There's nothing. There's nothing. You can tell me that. Like I said, I've heard my mom say I love you, son, and oh my dad, love you, baby boy, all that stuff, right? And obviously one of them I take just on another level,
Right.
and it's just natural. That's what happens when somebody truly loves you. They're in your life and they're involved.
How different, or do you think your life would be any different if your father was in your life or raised you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm blessed with how my life turned out, regardless. But if he was in my life, is he in my life and he's the same guy, or is he in my life and he's like this new dude?
I mean, I don't think, I would say same guy.
Same guy.
I was actually, I was thinking about this last night, and I was like, you know what? Xavier might not be as good as he is right now. If his dad was in
Right.
his life, is the same guy he is now, you know?
Right. I think even with the little bit of interaction I had with him was pretty impactful because that's just I just feel like that's the effect that fathers can have on children. Even the handful of times I've seen him. And there's one of my favorite animes, Vinland Saga, and I relate to like a character, King Canute, a lot. And the reason why is like he hated his father, he was king of the Vikings and everything. And even though he's totally against everything his father stands for, his father's like head like floats around him when he makes decisions. Like his father's consciousness is weighing even on his own consciousness, right? So for me, even with the little bit of interaction I've had, I still can like hear my father's voice about what my father would do. Like, what does he think about it? And you obviously don't have to listen to that voice. It would be nice if that voice was helpful. So if he was a different guy, you know, that voice, like for my kids, my voice is going to be different. My voice is going to be, you got this. You can do this. Sacrifice, suffering is just a part of life. You know, you can overcome these things. Just give it some time and some energy. But my father's voice is different. My father's voice is like, you know, run, excuses, those things. And I hear that and I just get mad. Or I get, you know, I take it however I want and it motivates me forward.
Right.
Even though that is the voice that I'm hearing. So to your point, I do think that I would maybe not be as much because then my mom wouldn't have full influence and control on me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would have had his softer voice in my ear.
Also, like, obviously and you know, just from an outsider looking in, I feel like he doesn't have as strong morals as your mom's side of the family, or like strong anything. I mean, you go 20 years without seeing your kid, you know, I don't see that as being strong morally or ethically or anything, you know.
I mean, you can even forget about me. You have a daughter. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean?
You know, that's even deeper. A daughter, you know. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe those not as strong characteristics would have been instilled in you. You know what I mean?
No, I definitely can agree. Like I said, I'm blessed with the situation, how it happened. I mean, through my mom, and I would hope my mom had full control over me, like in the sense of teaching me and the upbringing and everything.
Right. And I know you said your uncle was in your life too, and he helped instill like those strong morals and things like that in your life also.
Yeah, he's like a version of my mom, except a dude. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I had her and then him.
Do you know how your mom was brought up?
My mom's half Italian, half Asian, and my grandmother was an immigrant from Thailand. So they're very like foreign, respect elder type, you know, family discipline, things like that. Like house always clean. That's just the vibe.
Did she have both of her parents growing up?
No.
No.
Yeah, my grandfather was like definitely a free spirited man. Like he traveled all around the world. I mean, so he originally met my grandmother overseas in Thailand and then brought her back to America. And then he just went and did him again. He's just doing him.
Right. So she was brought up by a single mother also.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
interesting.
but also hyper committed. As I mean, like I just come from
A line of
obviously the more people in your family that are more hyper committed to you, the better.
right.
But as long as you got one person that can bring that real quality and energy to you most likely will be fine. Don't even focus on the
Who's not there.
who's not there. Yeah, focus on the people who are actually giving you that love and attention.
Yeah, that's interesting. Some people do get really caught up in like, oh, my dad wasn't there,
Yeah,
but you're ignoring the fact that your mom is doing everything she can to raise you.
going through it for you.
Yeah.
You know, you got to just respect that. I mean, cast him to the side and think about making my mom proud. And that's how I think, and that's how they thought too. My uncle, anybody in my family, from my grandmother, always thought, make my mom proud. You know, make them happy, take care of them into the future. And I got the same mentality. They literally instilled it.
Now, I need to get someone on here who was raised by a single dad.
Ooh, that would be different.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
The first second episode was Chopper and his the way, because he was raised by his mom, but he also had a stepdad.
Right.
You know, which I guess I can ask you, like, did you ever have like someone like that, like a stepdad in your life or anything?
Heck no.
No, your
My
mom
mom's
didn't
a
play
straight
that?
tyrant dictator.
Dang,
Shout out for the strong mentality.
Right.
But yeah.
That's cool though. That's like interesting. I feel like especially nowadays, people our age, they just don't care about what they bring around their kids.
Yeah.
Once they become a single parent, it's just like anyone they even sleep with, they're bringing around their kids.
Yeah, my mom's main focus when we were growing up, and I mean it's also partially because I had a sister. Well, actually take that back because I do have a younger brother, and he was in our life. His father was in our life for a certain period of time, but outside of that, pretty much no. And it was just to protect me in Asia. She literally just was like, only person I want around them is me. Only person I want saying anything to them is me, and then my family. That's about it.
Oh, so how long was your brother's dad?
My younger brother, it was a couple years, very few though, like 2,
Did they
not even.
break up or?
Yeah, they're not together or anything.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've only met your mom like 3 times, but she's
You can feel like the intensity. Yeah, she's intense.
I was talking to Aisha yesterday. I'm like, yeah, his mom's like a boss lady. Like she's a boss. Like
Yeah.
you don't mess with her.
Yeah, she doesn't play. You know.
I remember. Oh no, that was Darren's mom. That we were all playing at his house, and then she came and she dogged us.
Yeah, they have that similarity, and that's why I just love it because that's just what I'm used to. So I never shy away from it.
Man, I feel like our generation, like our age, we know so many people that didn't grow up with their dad or just didn't have that good father figure in their life.
Yeah, it's definitely growing more. It was becoming more common then. I think it's kind of accelerating.
You think it's accelerating?
I think so,
You think
for
so?
sure.
I mean, I don't know.
It's
I feel
just-
like a lot of people. Well, I guess I do know a lot of like single moms now. And I think
It's just hard to have a stable relationship. It might not be for the same reasons of someone like my dad or like how my grandfather was,
Correct.
but it's definitely
social media.
still current. Yeah, that's a whole new,
Yeah.
because that wasn't even a factor back then. You know what I mean?
Right.
Typically, if a dude like somebody like my dad wasn't in your life or something, he just like didn't care. He didn't want to go to work all like that.
Right,
You were
yeah.
stressing him out on that level.
Yeah.
Now you're inserting the social media, which most social media users are female.
Yeah.
You know, now that's a little bit on their end. So, but they're still dudes. You know, my dad.
It's interesting, man. Yeah, I mean, do you have anything else you want to say? Do you have any advice for anyone that's like a little younger, growing up without their dad in their life?
Yeah, I would definitely say appreciate any quality person that goes into your life. Take all opportunity that you can. And then instill that own higher voice into yourself. And it's a little hard when you're growing up, but as you get older, that voice can become louder and louder and louder, and over time it's going to be stronger. You'd rather have it do that than do the opposite. If you keep telling yourself excuses or reasons why not having them, you know, negatively affects you, if you can reverse that to think about, wow, I'm so much stronger because I'm doing this despite not having a father or despite not having that person, you can at least salvage and change the quality of your life overall.
You said a key word in there, man. Excuses. But like so many of us are so good at excuses, bro. It kills me.
Yeah, it's hard because when you're saying the word excuses, it is a little bit, you're not being sympathetic to the fact that that's a real reason that causes real trauma and stuff to people.
Right.
But at the same time, if you give it so much value and credence, then it is going to define you. That's the
Right.
currency that you accept. I just say, if I'm going to live my life, I want to live it on, like that next level. Like, why would I put myself here if I could pick any level I want? I want to try to lower my, own self-esteem, my own inner voice, my own confidence.
And like I feel like, do you feel like you weren't able to get to that level until you like talked to your dad and forgave him?
It definitely was a step. Like consciously, I already was there, but then I had to put it in action and actually see if my forgiveness and my understanding was actually true.
Right.
Because I was talking like, oh yeah, I don't want to, be mad at him no more. I mean, I honestly was gonna like fight him type stuff. That's how I felt. But and then I had to come to that understanding that if I want my children to respect me into the future and think of highly of me, how would they look at me if I was like that to my father?
Right.
I set the tone going forward. It never has to happen again. And like I said, he was an orphan at the age of 8. So that already set a pretty bad tone, unfortunately, from that circumstance. And then he set another tone. Now I get to set the next tone. So.
Last night I went to a Bible study. We talked about forgiveness. That was like one of the topics, and like how important forgiveness is, and how hard it is, especially like for Christians and people who kind of didn't do any wrong, but they still have to forgive. And I don't know, something that stood out to me was like, you're not, what religion are you? Or would you say you are? Or
It's hard. I have Christian and Catholic influence, but I also have been influenced by Buddhism since half my family's, from Asia.
Yeah.
So.
So like, as Christians, something someone said last night that stood out was like, us not forgiving those who has done us wrong is kind of prideful in a way, because it's like, Jesus died on the cross for our sins, which was the ultimate sacrifice. And so you're saying what this person did to you, they can't be forgiven, but Jesus can forgive. What this person did to you, they can't be forgiven, but Jesus can forgive. Dang, it was, it got all lost in my head, but it was there. But not forgiving yourself, actually, I think it was it. Yeah, it was not forgiving yourself. It was complicated. I'm gonna get the facts and bring it to the next episode. Actually, next week we have a Christian on here, and it's gonna be a Christian episode. So I'm sure she'll be able to really
set the record straight.
Yeah, bro, it was interesting the way they said it though, and I'm like, that's crazy. And I totally forgot it. I got nervous a little bit. I get nervous when I talk about like religion just because I'm such a new Christian.
You kind of have to be precise a little bit.
Yeah, like I don't want to sound dumb like I just did. So, but yeah, no, yeah, thank you though, bro, for coming on here and speaking about that. I know it got a little deep, not super deep, but it got a little deep. However, I do feel like some people would definitely hear this and look at you a little differently, not in a bad way.
Right.
Like, okay, like that's interesting. I never heard anything about his life or anything.
Yeah, kind of like, I keep a lot of my personal stuff close to the chest. So, and I do appreciate you even just having like the platform with the goal of just having people talk about certain things that are uncomfortable, because it does get us to a overall stronger mind frame and everything like that.
Yeah, facts. Like, and that's the podcast, like, bro, we're gonna get deep, we're gonna talk about art, we're gonna talk about finances, we're gonna talk about fitness, but overall, like, there's always gonna be that sprinkle of like mental health, something that can help you grow, me grow, and whoever's listening grow a little bit. Even if it's just one little thing you said,
Right.
But yeah, any last words or anything?
Touch back a little bit what you were saying with the Bible study. Yeah, because at some point in time, if we hold on to onto that like vengeance or like not forgiving someone, it actually does become a reflection of us. We all can be upset at first, or you have the right to be upset by anything that happens in your life. But if you allow it, you hold on to it, start moving through it, letting it define you, that's you now.
Yeah.
Now you are that person. So it's better. It's even in everyone's interest for you to have that forgiveness, that deeper level of understanding, so that you can actually be who you're. You can actually become self-actualized.
Right. And like, why hold on to that hate? Like, why hold that grudge in your heart?
Yeah.
Why have those feelings in your heart when you literally have the control over yourself to just let it go?
Yeah, it's tempting. Our feelings aren't accurate and they're not meant to be. They're just meant to cause us to like look in that direction. And then after that, that's where the self-reflection, sitting back and actually thinking about what we're feeling and why, can we actually pinpoint what the feelings are trying to tell us? Because if you just go off your surface level feelings, snap a judgment, I'm mad at my dad. When I see him, I should act mad. Boom. That's not going to get me to a true point, and that wasn't the real premise on why I even had the feelings to begin with. I had those feelings to be able to find how to get to that next level with my family, and how to be a better man going into the future.
Yes, sir. Next week we have a guest, Mariah. She's a great person. She like is so knowledgeable in the Bible and just in her walk with Christ. It will be a more Christian-based episode, so I want all my hood and street dudes to tune in. Like, don't skip that episode, man. You might learn something.
That's someone that needs
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, you listen to
Facts.
Jesus is King, Kanye's album?
I did. I heard a couple
Oh,
songs.
that's a good album.
I'm gonna listen to it today. I'm gonna run that. But yeah, and yeah, it'll be a great episode. Tune in. I wanted to get a female on here. I'm like, dude, we've had too many guys like back to back to back to back. I'm like, let me get a female.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, tune in. I'm gonna finish this episode off with a Bible scripture. I've been wanting to do it for the last couple episodes, but I always forget. But I remember now, and this is a great scripture for anyone with anxiety. And it's Matthew 6, verse 34. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. There you go. If anyone has anxiety, trust in the Lord, pray a little bit, throw some music on, just get yourself together. That anxiety can literally kill people.
Sure.
Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Xavier, for coming on and speaking with me. Definitely have to get you back on here and talk about some other things. And I hope you guys all have a blessed day.
Peace.